Hey y'all, Chelsea and Danny here.
Enjoy this episode of Today's Homeowner here on YouTube.
These homeowners have wanted this sunroom for over 10 years. This week, we're taking care of that.
Welcome to Today's Homeowner with Danny Lipford. Get ready for a half hour full of projects, tips, and ideas to help you improve your home.
Welcome to the show this week. Now, these homeowners have wanted this sunroom for a long time. And the reason is that they have a beautiful swimming pool, a very nice landscaped backyard that creates a very nice view from their original patio. But they couldn't enjoy the patio because during the summer, with no shade, it was very hot. And because of the shape of the house, no breeze at all. And during the winter, it was quite cold. The solution is to convert the patio to a sunroom. Now, we'll be putting a wall across here with a large bank of very energy efficient windows and a very nice tall wood ceiling. And you'll see it all completed in this week's show. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the show. Well, this hot tub has certainly seen its better days, and I'm sure the homeowners enjoyed it quite a bit when it was positioned on the corner of their existing patio. Now, that was one of the first things that we had to do on this project is start removing all of the tub right in this area. We had bricks around the perimeter we had to remove, and then a new slab poured here that'll serve as the slab for the new flooring to be extended out into this area. Now, one of the things that we've done here, of course, we had to do a fair amount of tear out around the roof and the soffit area, and one of the reasons for that is to position the beam that you see here. Now, this is a double Lvl beam, which is a laminated veneer lumber beam, and we've used this because we didn't want to rely on the concrete that was existing because of just kind of a questionable integrity as to whether or not it would support the wall and the roof load we would have on this. By positioning the beam here, we're not having to worry about this wall supporting anything but the wall itself. Now, the wall will come right along here, then here, and back in here. So it'll be kind of an interesting look right in here because these about 3 tiles will remain exposed, almost a little porch off a porch. So that should be pretty nice. Now, there is a lot of work taking place up on the roof, and that's the important thing now because we want to get this thing dried in. This roof is on a fairly low pitch, so we won't be putting shingles on it. We'll be putting a modified bitumen roof, which is perfect for this type of application. We use those quite a bit. They always work out well. Now, you can see most of the rafters are in place, 2x10s, 16-inch on center, and we're in the process of just kind of tying together some of the loose ends on the outside so that we can start the decking. You can also see how they've done this. A lot of times you'll see when rafters are nailed down to the roof, they're nailed right to the roof. Here we're supporting it with 2 2x4s so that we kind of spread that load out a little bit so that we're not bearing right between the original 2 rafters. So that should work out great. Also, we're working on a lot of the area around the fireplace to really block that in because we'll have a lot of flashing going all around that. Make sure we don't have any leaks around the chimney. Now, the next step after we've completed a little bit more of the framing here is to start the installation of the 1/2-inch decking. The plywood sheets are installed, staggering the seams. The perimeter is hand nailed, then additional nails are shot in every 8 inches or so with the nail gun. To support the seams between the rafters, small aluminum 8-shaped clips are installed. As soon as the decking is complete, the roofer goes to work to dry in the area. The modified bitumen roof material is sealed in place with adhesive and nails along the edge. On either side, it's tucked under the existing shingles to keep the valleys watertight. Now, underneath, the crew frames up the pony walls to extend from the brick walls up to the ceiling height, and then the exterior wall is framed and sheathed with 1/2-inch plywood. Now that all of our sheathing is in place, our guys can concentrate on finishing up all the other trim here on the outside of the house. Now, we chose to use a 1/2-inch plywood for our sheathing, but depending on where you live in the country and what codes apply, there's a number of other alternatives. Now, this is one that's very similar to plywood. It's called OSB. Comes in 4x8 sheets and can be used in a very similar fashion as we have used the plywood here. There's also an option of using a gypsum board, or called gyp board. This is a 1/2 inch thick, very similar to the drywall you would install on inside walls, but this is made for exterior use. Now, on the original house, they used a very thin, full back type of sheathing that you can see a little bit of it there along the top of the bricks. This was used to kind of increase the energy efficiency of a home. But to do even a better job, you can use foam sheets like this. Again, comes in 4x8 sheets and a variety of thicknesses. And this works great on a house where you may be installing brick veneer over the home, give you a little more insulation value. Now, another reason we used the plywood, we needed a good solid backing so that later we'll be installing a 1/2 inch cement backer board that will serve as the base for our stucco finish. But before we install the backer board, we're going to install a house wrap that will go right against the plywood that'll serve as a moisture barrier, but also will allow the walls to breathe a little bit, which is very important. Now, while the guys are taking care of that, check out this week's Simple Solution.
It's time to pick up a few tricks of the trade from Danny and home repair expert Joe Truini in this week's Simple Solution, brought to you by DuPont Tyvek. Build it once, build it right.
We get a lot of emails wanting us to show more kitchen storage ideas. Joe's got a great one here.
The biggest challenge in any kitchen is how to store the lids for your pots and pans. Too often they simply get tossed into the cabinet, then you can never find the right lid for the pot you're using. My idea was to use a towel rack mounted on the back of the door to store the lids. All I did is I mounted one bracket to the back of the door, and then I held the second bracket in place so that I could mark the bar to length. Then I cut it with a hacksaw and used a piece of sandpaper to smooth off the edges. Now you just have to screw it to the back of the door. You can hold that for me.
Okay, sure.
And what you have to make sure you do is replace the screws that come with the bracket, because they come with 1 1¼ inch screws, which are too long. And these are 1-inch screws, which work perfect. And then you can just slip the lids right behind there, and the handles keep them from falling through.
Now, I guess depending on the size of the door, you could actually put a second one down there for smaller lids.
Right, you can see this week actually could have raised up a little bit and would have allowed room for a second rack. But the most important thing is that the lids are neatly organized and you can just store them away.
Our sunroom is really starting to look like a sunroom with the installation of all the windows and transoms. Now, the homeowners chose a very efficient vinyl window because they wanted to make sure they kept the moisture and the outside temperatures outside. Now, we wanted to make sure we did the same thing with the way we constructed the walls and the perimeter around all of the windows. So that started with the installation of our house wrap. The house wrap was stretched tight over the wall surface and stapled in place. A snug fit helps ensure that the wrap does its job of keeping moisture and outside air out while allowing the walls to still breathe. The window and the door openings were cut out, and the house wrap was rolled into the openings and stapled off. The seals of the window openings were then wrapped with a flexible flashing that extended up either jamb 6 inches or so. This material has an adhesive backing so it sticks in place as it conforms to the opening. The house wrap was folded back at the top of the window, and both jambs and the head of the opening were caulked before the windows were set. When the windows were properly aligned, they were nailed in place. Next, the flexible flashing was applied over the nailing flange on both jambs to ensure an absolute seal. At the head of the window, another piece of flashing covers the flange and extends past the edge of the windows before the house wrap is folded back down. After the windows and our flexible flashing was in place, we came back and installed brick molding all the way around the windows so that it would match the existing windows on the house. But instead of using wood, we used vinyl brick mold, just like the vinyl on the windows, so that later, after all of the stucco is completed on the outside, our painter can drop back and paint the brick molding the same color as the windows themselves. Now, the windows the homeowner selected are casement windows, and that means they pivot from one side when they're opened. Now, this one also has a real unique locking system. It has just one handle on it here to unlock the windows, but it actually has 4 different points that it locks down on the side of the window, so it's real secure in that manner. Then, after you unlock it, you basically can just crank it out to get a little of that breeze in from time to time. Now, this also has a nice handle on it that folds in so that if the homeowner decides to have interior shutters on the windows, the handle won't get in the way of those shutters, which is a real common problem with casement windows. Also, after all of the construction is complete, we'll have a screen that fits right in this little ledge so that it can keep the bugs out. Now this is a very energy efficient window where it has two pieces of glass with a large space between it that's filled with argon gas and a low E coating on the windows themselves. Now that'll really help to keep the homeowners comfortable inside their new sunroom. Now the homeowners decided, instead of using any type of drywall or paneling on the walls, they've decided to bring the stucco finish to the inside. So we'll install half-inch backer board just like we're doing on the outside, on the inside here. Then stucco can just go right on and complete that, which will look good since we're saving all of the original bricks on the outside, used to be on the outside wall, now on the interior walls. Now also, our electrician has been out and installed few recessed cans around in the room, as well as a place for a future ceiling fan, and our insulation contractor completed all of the work on insulating both the ceiling area as well as all of the walls. Now one of the next steps will be to install our wood ceiling, and we use this a lot. This is a 3/4 inch thick, 6 inch wide V-groove tonguing groove, so it has just a little V cut on it so that when it goes together creates a nice look on it. It creates just a nice wood ceiling, and it's perfect for an area like a sunroom or screen porch or almost any type of porch. Homeowners are trying to decide on whether or not they want to leave a natural finish or maybe a little pickling or maybe even some stain. So we'll find out what they've decided and start the installation of this right after this.
Now let's join Danny at the Home Center to check out this week's best new product, brought to you by the Home Depot.
These days it seems like everybody is drinking bottled water, but that can get fairly expensive. Now a much cheaper alternative is to filter the water that you drink in your home. Now you can put in a whole house filter to take care of all the water coming in your home, but most homeowners are only concerned with the water they'll be drinking. Now if you have one of the refrigerators, like so many people do, that have the water dispenser right on the front, here's an easy way of getting that nice tasting water. It's called the Smart Water from GE Refrigerator Ice Maker Filter. It's very easy to install. First of all, it comes with a kit that has the filter and all the fittings that you'll need to install this in the water line you have behind your refrigerator. Now your water line may be plastic or it may be copper, but all you need to do is to cut the water off to your refrigerator, then cut this line either with a knife or scissors, and if it's copper you'll have to use a little tubing cutter. Then you connect the fittings to both ends of the filter, and these are fittings that require very little work involved in putting them together, even has the Teflon tape included. Then you have filtered water coming into your refrigerator for up to 6 months. Also, it has a little mounting bracket you can mount right on the wall, and then this clips right in place and will hold it just like that out of the way of the refrigerator. And a replacement cartridge like this is only around $15. Welcome back to the show. The outside wall of our sunroom is really moving along. As soon as we finished the installation of the windows and all of the vinyl brick mold around the windows, we started putting up all of our half-inch cement backer board. Now the backer board went on the wall as well as extending down over the exposed concrete slab. Right after that, the first application of stucco finish was applied, and after that is dried for a day or two. Now Barry's in the process of putting on the final coat, which is the pigmented coat that has the color so that it really helps the color of the new stucco to really blend in to the bricks we have on either side. Now this project is moving along very quickly, and one of the main reasons, the timely decisions that have been made by homeowners Joe and Wendy McCurchin. We caught up with them yesterday while they're making a couple last-minute decisions. Hey, I know you guys have made a lot of decisions to get us this far with the sunroom, but you're still making decisions. What did you decide on as far as painting or staining the doors?
Well, Dan, we decided to stain both sides of the door.
Okay.
We're looking at a transition and coming into this room, which has beautiful paneling. We think it's going to make a great transition. Just go ahead and stain both sides.
Good. That's always safe when you stain a door,
Right.
but it looks good in any kind of situation. And to really tie it in, we can come back on the trim that we have here, paint it the same as we're painting the trim out here. Now, like I say, I know you've made a lot of decisions, and one of them involved the bay window here in your breakfast area. Just how much did you decide to tear out on that?
The whole thing. We just
Okay.
decided, since the sunroom was so open and light, that we wanted to take advantage of it. So we just decided to take the windows out too.
Well, that'll be perfect.
Yeah, being in the breakfast area, we'll be able to look out and enjoy the room.
All right, great. Now, I understand that not only will you guys be able to benefit from the new room, but maybe the family pets are going to have some fun out here too?
Right, we got 2 lovely parrots, and we're going to move them out here in our new sunroom, and we're going to recapture another room in the house for our use.
Okay, well, that's great. And with all the sun and the high ceilings and everything, that should be
Right.
perfect. Now, I also know that you made a real good suggestion on an old planter that's out there.
Right. It was an area where we had a fountain and some plantings, and we had gotten used to the water. We really liked the noise, and the birds find it very calming. And so since we're moving our parrots out there, we thought we'd just fix them a little fountain and water music for them.
That's great. Well, it should be a very pleasant area with, again, the volume that we have in there, just the pure cubic feet, all of the light coming in, the water in the corner, open over here. I can't wait to see all this come together.
Good.
The wood ceiling that we mentioned earlier in the show has all been installed over the last few days. It's taken a while because there's over 1,000 lineal feet of 1x6 V-groove pine in this room. The guys are just finishing up some of the last few pieces, and I really like the way the wood continues down on all the side walls here. It really blends in. Now, speaking of blending in, the homeowners made a decision on the finish for all of the wood. It'll be almost a clear white stain that'll penetrate into the wood. And a lot of the nice graining will still show through, which should help blend in to the den adjacent to it. And then the white color of the wood will blend in with all the white trim we will have that we'll install later in the project. Now, one of the nice things about selecting this type of stain, you'll still be able to maintain a room that's nice and bright.
Let's head outside for Around the Yard with Danny and lawn and garden expert Tricia Craven-Worley.
Tricia, now what's going on with the golf bag here?
Little did my mother know when I was 8 years old and she sent me out for golf lessons that I'd end up using a golf bag and cart for the garden. But you know, it really is a great idea. I just went to the secondhand store and bought this old golf bag for about $5, and it has a place for all the tools. Now I have the long tools here, as you can see, the trowel and rakes and what have you, and in the side pocket I have the smaller hand tools that come in so handy when I'm out in the garden. Here I've got the gloves and rubber gloves, and even a place for the spray bottle that I sometimes use for pest control.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So you've got another bottle up there, drinking water, huh?
Well, you know, we can't just take care of the garden, have to take care of the gardener too. A water bottle is always a good idea. And for people who are really into their garden, they can, instead of keeping score, they can maybe take notes about the garden. And as you can see, I have all of this on my usual golf cart because it's just really easy to hand around.
Well, it does make sense, you know, if you're working out in the yard and you have a number of tools you're working here and there, having to go back and forth from the storage area, that you have them all in a nice self-contained unit.
Well, it's true, regardless of how big your yard is, whether it's an acre or just a little plot, I find that I'm always having things all over the place.
Well, let's get all this taken care of, and maybe we'll take this golf bag off and put the real golf bag on.
Great idea, Danny.
This sunroom is completely finished and ready for the homeowners to start enjoying their new space. Now outside, the stucco, the windows, and the transoms just looks great. Inside, our wood ceiling has been completely stained and all the woodwork has been freshly painted, including the area around the bay window where we removed the windows and created a nice little bar area. All we need there, just a few bar stools. The homeowners also decided to remove all of the Mexican tile that originally was the patio surface and replace it with a 12-inch ceramic that gives the interior that finished look we were looking for. Now, I hope you enjoyed seeing this project come together, and I hope you'll be back with us next week. I'm Danny Lipford. Never enough places to put your stuff? Next week, we'll build a solution.
Hey, thanks for watching this episode of Today's Homeowner. And don't forget to comment, like, and hit the bell icon so that we can notify you when new videos are posted.
And don't go anywhere, click around and continue the home improving fun.